Chapter 1. October 1800.
Quick, Lucerne, hurry up!
Ignoring the extended hand of the waiting footman, Bella Rushdale leapt from the landau and sprinted up the townhouse steps, the train of her slender Empire Line evening dress looped over her arm to prevent her tripping. She reached the door and turned to face the carriage.
Do you think he'll have noticed we've gone?
He notices everything.
Viscount Lucerne Marlinskar slid his 6'2" slender frame across the leather seat and stepped carefully from the interior, a silver-topped cane clasped tightly in one hand and a hip flask in the other. He was dressed in a dark blue evening coat, cut short at the front to show off his black and silver waistcoat. His breeches, cream, cleaved to his thighs like a second skin and were, Bella suspected, at least partially responsible for his slow descent.
Yes, but will he be on his way yet?
Lucerne pocketed the silver flask and peered at his fob watch.
That rather depends on how well Henry Tristan's delaying him.
That's who you left him with?
Why, yes.
Bella skipped back down the top 3 steps and grasped Lucerne's coat cuff.
Then he won't be above 5 minutes, come on!
She dragged Lucerne through the front door and across the echoing hall. Her first instinct was to squeeze into the broom cupboard below the stairs and get frisky among the mops, but she knew Lucerne would object. Too dusty, and he didn't like spiders. He'd be far too concerned about his clothes and not nearly enough about her pleasure, and that would be no good at all, since Vaughan was probably already turning his black phaeton into the street. Vaughan. Marquis Pennerley. Of course, if she'd been with him rather than Lucerne, there'd have been no qualms about the cupboard. He might even have led her past the house and into an alleyway. Vaughan had no respect for anything. Clothing, furniture, none of it mattered. Nothing got in the way of his pleasure. It was how it had been for the last 2, almost 3 years, ever since she'd recklessly climbed into his carriage and waved Yorkshire goodbye.
This way!
They ran up the stairs. Lucerne headed for the master bedroom with the enormous canopied bed the 3 of them shared, but its sumptuous cushioned comfort wasn't what Bella was looking for. Before he dragged her down into its embrace, she swung left and bundled him through the door of the walk-in closet. The sharp smell of mothballs wafted over them, tempered a little by the scent of the lavender bags she'd made in a moment of boredom. Not that there'd been many such moments. Her time in London had passed in a swirl of evening dresses and sexual excess. Only the fashions of the beau monde seemed to mark the seasons. When she'd first arrived, it had been all stays, bums and hoops. Now her waist had risen to somewhere beneath her breasts, and diaphanous, Grecian simplicity was all the rage. Bella liked the freedom of the new costume and the excitement of change, but not all the new fashions were so good. For starters, the men were all cropping their hair. She'd always liked Lucerne's untidy fringe, but she admired Vaughan's sable ringlets more. Thankfully, the Marquis showed no signs of giving way to the dictates of fashion and the dandies led by Mr. Brummel. He'd sworn that he'd damn well please himself. No penniless army captain was going to tell him how to dress. Besides, she thought, where was the fun if all men dressed alike as blue and cream sheep, and they no longer had the likes of the macaroni or les incroyables like Henry Tristan? Bella grinned. Lucerne was taking advantage of her distraction and exploring the swell of her breasts, while his lips teased the back of her neck.
Ah!
She swung him around and pushed him into the silken rainbow of hanging coats.
Yourself.
He slapped away her hands, but Bella pressed in closer. Lucerne peeped coyly at her from beneath his eyelashes.
Just what sort of tryst is this, Miss Rushdale? It seems a touch indecorous to assault a fellow in a closet.
Indecorous? Assault? Her fingertips sought passage beneath his tight clothes. Yes, that was about it. She strained on tiptoes to reach his lips, narrowly avoiding the foot-high pile of cravats at her feet. Why so many layers?
I could ask the same.
Lucerne tugged open the buttons on his waistcoat, then reached for her hem. He slipped his hand up her stocking to the bare flesh of her thigh.
Except